Good evening, everybody, and welcome to season 2 of Bordertown Strange.
Huzzah!
I'm Pam, and this is my co-host Jess, and our special guests are Mark Bannon and Enzo Cyril. And tonight's a special night. Yes, we're so excited. Tonight's a special night. Not only is it our first show for the first day of 2025, but it's also our first show of season 2. And we hope you really enjoy it. Our topics tonight are simulation theory and non-player characters, or NPCs. But before we dive in, Jess, do you want to do a little housekeeping and we'll talk about our What the Weird Word?
Yeah. So I hope everyone at home isn't too hungover, but I hope your party was awesome last night. My party was awesome. I barely made it to midnight, and then I was like, woo, and then I went to sleep, or I tried to while all the fireworks went off, and I felt like a little old lady because I was like, damn you kids, quit with the fireworks.
That's what happened.
There were
to
some
me.
Fireworks or
Town.
gunshots?
There were some big booms. It could have been gunshots.
There were some gunshots mixed in there, but we're kind of rural, Kansas,
Right.
so it's okay.
Probably.
Yeah, I don't think anybody actually got shot last night, so we're all right.
Good.
Yeah, so like I always say really quick, thank you to all of our new subscribers and followers. If you're on Facebook right now, just take a second to hit that like button and that share button. And if you're on YouTube, please just take a second to hit that bell and subscribe so you'll be the first to know when we go live. And of course, hit that thumbs up. It helps us get more content to you and kind of ups our numbers, and we're very appreciative of that. Also, we really want to push this season, everyone hopping on and letting us know what topics you want to hear about. We will totally do entire shows on your guys' topics. You just got to let us know what your favorite thing is. Is it true crime? Is it a particular haunting? Whatever it is, just let us know and we will work it in. And we are always up for guests. So if you'd like to come on and tell your story firsthand, we would love to do that. Please just hop on either in the chats here or on the messages in Facebook, or even send us a messenger and such, and we will get right back with you and get you on or get your story up.
Absolutely.
Cool. All right. Are we ready for Word of the Week?
We are. Hang on
What
a second.
the
Let me.
word?
What the word? What the word?
What the word?
What the word?
The bird is
What
the
the
word,
bird
right?
Bird is the
Word is
word.
the word. What?
Oh
Oh no! Don't sing it! Don't sing it! Don't sing it!
Oh no, it's gonna be stuck in Mark's head forever.
Evil spirit.
You have to do the Peter dance though.
The Peter dance?
Yes, that sounded terrible. The Family Guy dance.
The Family Guy dance.
Much better. Much better.
Okay, so our word of the week this week is jot or jots. I thought this was kind of appropriate. We're going to be kind of touching on these a little bit probably this week, but this is most certainly probably going to go into our next episode too, because this is a huge topic and we're going to be discussing these. So a jot, just one of those things, was coined by the author Mary Rose Barrington. It's also called the disappearing object phenomena. So this is kind of a glitch in the matrix type of situation. So it involves the mysterious matter of seemingly everyday objects appearing, disappearing, reappearing, and sometimes being transformed. So when you come home and you put your keys right back down where you've always put them, and then you go to leave and they're gone.
Yep.
And then you find them later on, on the back of your toilet. That's a jot.
Somewhere where you would not have put them.
Or right back where you looked
Absolutely.
already.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Those are jots, or just disappearing things. We're going to talk a lot about all this little stuff. We're going to start talking about simulation theory and, stuff disappearing and reappearing, stuff transforming, stuff ending up lost and then coming back in the wrong place or in the same place. So you're going to be hearing this a lot. And I realize this is one of those terms we actually use occasionally and have never quite explained. So jot.
It's a good one. It's a good one to do.
Yeah.
And I did add in, I can get over there.
The pictures.
Yep.
Yeah. So Mary Rose wrote an entire book on just jots, and it's excellent. Please get it if you're interested. It's a wonderful book. She really kind of goes in depth, and she actually, bless her heart, she named every different kind of like a port and things like that. Like wherever they end up, it has a new name. She's kind of cutesy like that, but it's a really good book. And then also, The Disappearing Object Phenomenon by Tony Jinks is also another really excellent book that really kind of goes in depth on the different kinds of disappearances and how maybe that factors into simulation theory or multiverse theory, and some other points. So if you're really interested in the topic, grab those two books. They're really great, and you can get them on Amazon and just about anywhere online, actually.
I've read Jot. I think you loaned me your copy of Jot, but I've never read the other one, The Disappearing Object Phenomenon.
It's a really good read, and it's not. I enjoyed it because it wasn't so technical that the everyday person couldn't grasp the concepts.
Ian said, that's interesting. Had a non-important letter moved from my dining room table to the bathroom a couple of years ago. Ooh, that's wild.
Yeah,
Ian, you can't flush your bills down the toilet. I know I've tried. But as tempting as it is,
I do agree that those are unimportant.
Let me find there it is. There we go.
Yay! All right, so the topics of tonight, we're going to start with non-player character theory. So just for you, those who maybe are not computer savvy or game savvy, non-player character is literally the characters in the video games and such that aren't your main player. So when you're playing like an action game and you're moving your character through, they're the little side characters that are there solely to fill it in and or maybe have a small role somehow to push the story along. Like you'll have to go to them and they have one line that they have to tell you to further your story.
Always makes me think of Zelda. You know, how you would have to meet up with those little characters. They're in all the games, but that one sticks in my mind for some reason.
Pretty much any adventure game where you have to go to like the weapons guy or the shield, the armor person or something like that. And that's your NPC, that nobody's actually controlling it. It's got a very limited vocabulary of answers and things like that for it.
Yep.
All the bartenders in Skyrim.
Yeah.
The interesting part is
right there.
Yep.
It goes along really well with simulation theory because there is a question and a mind that there's people in our world that are NPCs, and that's really what we're going to talk about tonight.
I've met them.
Well, while we're on that, so let's talk about examples of non-player character traits in or people that you might see around you all the time. Mm-hmm. So I think the biggest one that we have found, and the one that's a little bit freaky, a little bit scary to us at least, is the people who have no inner dialogue.
Yes.
Frightening.
There's a word for that. I don't remember what it is.
Yeah. I actually went and looked this up because I wanted what does it say? Oh,
you said it's the weapons dealer in Resident Evil 4. Yep.
Yeah. So back in 2010, they did several research experiments. They conducted them on groups of kids on college campuses to try to see what kind of an inner dialogue they had, if any. Did they picture things in their head when they were reading? Did they see a photo? Did they see moving video? Did they see just the word? Did they see anything at all? Did they talk to themselves in their head while they were working out problems or doing their day-to-day activities? And consistently, they found across the board in these groups of 30 that they did on these college campuses, only 26% of them were found to have an inner dialogue whatsoever.
That's crazy.
26%.
Aphantasia is what it's called.
Oh, that's what it's called.
Aphantasia. Yeah.
So can you imagine going through life with you read a book and you don't see any kind of...
You don't see the movie in your mind?
Yeah.
Right?
There's
Right.
no connection.
As
You're
a
not coming up
librarian,
with-
that's very disturbing.
The interesting thing about that study is that 26% was rotating.
Yeah.
So at any one point, everybody may have had an inner dialogue or whatever at some point, but not ever all of them at the same time. So it's like at some
odd.
points in your life, you go on autopilot for a short time, and you're basically, for that short period of time, an NPC. So that's actually even scary.
Creepy. Yeah, it's creepy.
That is weird.
Yeah.
And it explains why there's some people that just really don't enjoy reading at all. Just
Yeah.
think if all you saw were the words on the page and you didn't see the movie in your head.
Oh yeah,
How boring would that
That's
be?
disturbing.
Yeah.
That.
I have I've read books and I've had a good idea how the town was laid out because I've
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
I could probably find my way around.
That's why it's always so disappointing when you read the book and then they make a movie or a TV show and they're like, oh, that's nothing what I imagined it as.
Yeah, or the characters are way off from what you had in your mind.
Yeah.
Yep.
And another one that I found extraordinarily disturbing, but maybe it's just because I'm an artsy person. There are people pretty much the same as that do not get any pleasure from music. They don't understand music or why people would want to listen to it.
That's
There's
terrible.
something wrong there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a major disconnect somewhere.
Like,
Yeah.
I'm almost borderline on that one myself. I mean, I enjoy listening to music. All my cross-country driving, if I didn't have a Sirius XM radio in there, I'd be screwed. But I'm not like married to, for the longest time, especially when I was younger, I never listened to the words. I was only listening to the music itself. I never even paid attention to the lyrics.
Yeah.
No, I do that a lot, especially when I'm at work. The worst thing, though, that happens is if I actually decide to sing, and bad things happen. Usually just people's eardrums.
And another one on the list is blind mind. They have no visual imagination, so they can't imagine things in their heads. They can't even sit there and make it up on their own. So could you imagine just going through life with no way to...
Yeah.
I know I have read that there's some people that like they know what their sister looks like when they see her, but when they're not looking at her, there's no picture there. They can't describe them at all. That's just wild. Yeah. And it's hard to imagine just because at least the four of us here, we all have that ability,
That's crazy.
But like I said, I've met people like that.
I just became an NPC for a second there. Did you see that? I disappeared. I watched myself disappear.
Watch it disappear. Other traits, and a lot of people know people like this. So no real personality to them. They kind of live the same monotonous life every day. They get up and do the exact same things every day with no real emotion or care behind them. No hobbies or interests, seemingly. Yeah. They don't grasp onto anything or have nothing on their desk. No pictures of family, no little tchotchkes or little, even a troll doll. Nothing.
Makes me think of It's Time to Make the Donuts. The poor little dude.
Again, I'm borderline there. I have the place I'm living in now. I moved in December of 2002. I have no paintings on the walls. Actually, this room with these posters that I hung up and stuff like that is the only room that has any decorations hanging up.
Yeah, but you're a dude, so
that's true.
Not weird.
That's not weird. I mean, I was
all your decoration is in your clothing, sir.
That's right.
I wear mine. I bring my own decorations wherever I go.
Or you could say that you are the decoration.
I am the decoration.
There you go.
Ian said, wait, are you talking about me? You're not alone. Too funny.
I am certainly that meme of why do guys do this, where it's just like a big screen TV sitting on the floor with like a a folding table and like a lawn chair, and that's the only stuff in their entire apartment.
Yep.
That's me. So that's the base they're covered. What else
Yeah,
do I do?
that's
Sling
That's
chairs are
guys.
extremely comfortable.
yeah. They have a great TV and a rockin' stereo system, a lawn chair, and maybe a mattress, but it's on the floor.
Yeah, it's on the floor.
And a couch
I
we
think I
stole off
just-
the
yeah.
curb.
Yep.
Yeah.
Ew.
We may or may not have sprayed it for insects after we picked it up.
Oh,
No.
yikes.
A wire wheel.
Unfortunately, that usually comes after you've gotten it inside and realized there were bugs in it.
Ian said, "Gentlemen of a certain age don't require knickknacks."
I must be older than that certain age now.
Oh, as you can tell by looking behind Jess and I, we like our knickknacks. Hers,
What?
she has an excuse. It's her studio, though. This is
Right.
just
That's
my
right.
living room.
Mine mostly
I have no
take,
excuse.
take the form of the books.
I'm all
behind me.
about simple living. Oh my gosh. Anywho, we're getting off topic again. We're getting off topic. So okay, we all know these people. There's certain individuals among us that we notice that have all these very weird traits. Very predictable. When you do talk to them, sometimes the responses are very limited. They're very short and to the point, and no fluff in that. On the surface, they seem normal, but once you interact with them, it's like talking to an empty vessel or something. Like there's no heart behind it. And just kind of give off that vibe of just kind of one level type of person.
Very
These are the
two-dimensional.
kinds of people, that they describe as being NPCs. And I think there's a lot of reasons for some of these people. I think some people might be suffering from depression, so they'll kind of give off that vibe. So I'm not implying that all these people are actually NPCs. So there could be excuses.
And honestly, we're probably all NPCs in other people's lives at some point or another. Because we are background characters. To the people that we don't know. Like if you're walking through a store or something, you're not the main character and whoever you just passed in their life, so you're just a background character to them for sure.
Yeah.
Maybe we're
All right,
simulation running on a bunch of different servers. You just happen to interact.
There's I ran across something that I thought was kind of interesting when it came to that. We'll get into that more in simulation, but it was talking about stacking computers basically. And if you stack them, then they would just branch out into the different simulations and it would just continue on and on and on, which gave it, more of that multiverse. Every action has a reaction and every step you take in another timeline, you took another step. So just think of all the branches that would be.
Yeah.
Infinite.
Infinite. For sure.
Before because simulation theory is going to be huge when connected to the NPCs. Before we get there, let's all kind of go over our theories that are non-computer related, like multiverse and all of those. I have like a page full of these. Do one of you guys have a theory or a topic you want to bring up?
A theory about what simulation theory is, or
no, what NPCs are not computer wise.
I feel that at least in some cases, it's just people that they're not inspired by anything. Usually from like whatever their background is. Maybe they had a bad childhood or bad household growing up, and then when they get thrown out of the house and out into the real world, kind of a thing. They don't have anything to aspire to, so they just wake up in the morning, go do their 9 to 5, come home and have a TV dinner or a microwave burrito, and then go to sleep and get up and do the whole thing all over again. That's just their life. So they don't have any big dreams, kind of an idea, or something that they would enjoy doing. They just don't even think that far ahead. It's just like, oh, I got to get up in the morning, so I'm going to go to bed.
Yeah, you're living for the weekend, basically. And once the weekend's over, you're living for that next weekend. And just nothing. And you don't do anything on the weekend. Just don't go to work.
Yeah. So, like Putty on Seinfeld, where he's literally just sitting on the couch until the phone rings.
I feel like you're calling me out there, dude.
This is funny.
That's so funny.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Right.
I could see that, especially when you talk about it could be depression, it could be anything that it's coming from. But there are people that just seem to have zero. I have a person that I know that has zero interest in picking up a hobby of any kind, and all they do is work and get done working and don't do really anything.
Now, the people that I know that are like that are really good at their job, because that's kind of the only thing they have to live
That's
for.
all they
So
do.
they're really good at their job. Outside of that, because I've known quite a few people over the years. There's one young guy, super into the job. This was back when I was in the Air Force. Knew a lot about how all the systems work. He was a very good worker, all that stuff, but had zero concept of anything outside of work. Like he had never. This was in the late 80s. Never seen Star Wars. Didn't know anything about it. Didn't know what it was.
Wow.
Just stuff like that. Just going to movies or watching stuff on TV. Just I actually, that particular guy I'm talking about, he didn't own a TV. He would just like sit at home and like turn on the radio and just listen to whatever was on the radio, and half the time not even paying attention to that. Yeah.
He must have completely drained his batteries at work then. Threw everything of himself into it and then had nothing left, Who knows? That's wild. I couldn't do it. I do great. I mean, I am a introverted extrovert or extroverted introvert, one or the other. I'm good when I'm out, but I am really good just locking the door and staying in the house too. Yeah. But I'm always, researching something or reading or trying to, come up with a new theory or stuff like that, or making something.
The other thing to go along with that is, especially today, some people just don't know how to interact face to face with like a group of people going out to a ball game or a nightclub or some kind of like backyard party or something like that. They just kind of stand there and don't know what to do.
Anxiety.
Yeah.
I'll text you with my response.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, I think the internet and phones are de-socializing our children to the point where now
called social media.
Yeah, these kids that are coming up into adulthood don't know exactly how to interact properly or appropriately either.
I see that where we got a lot of really young guys. No clue.
Yeah. For you, those of you at home, if you've got kids, man, don't let them near that stuff until way later when they've established some social skills. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or set limits at least,
Well, see, that brings up. I think a lot of the. I've got two separate theories on this, and one or both of them may be true. I don't know. But one of it, I think there is a psychological phenomenon that is it is perpetrated by society on us to make it. They want us to be drones. They want us to go to work, sleep, go to bed, get up, and go to work. And so you have places of business who will literally work you to death. They don't expect you to. They'll say, "Oh, you should work. We gave you a day off this week. You should be fine."
Yeah.
Thanks, Ebenezer.
Right.
Exactly.
Thanks, Ebenezer. That's a good one. And so I think a lot of that is driven by societal factors, and it's a psychological condition. And then the nutty fringe guy in me says, well, what if it is 1,000 different parallel universes, and the reason why sometimes you're turned on and then sometimes you're turned off is you're like skipping from one parallel to another all in the same day.
Oh, so maybe you're like a placeholder while your conscious is off somewhere else.
Yeah.
In another universe. Oh, interesting.
So, and that would explain some of your disappearing objects. So
And we
I'm
explain some
I'm
Mandelas too.
skimming along here, and I just jumped next door, and my keys are like 6 feet away from where they're supposed to be. And then while I'm looking for them, I jumped back, and they're where I looked for them the first time.
Tony said that's mind blowing. It is.
Yeah.
So, I mean, one or more of those things may be right. One or more of those things may be wrong. But I really think a lot of what we call NPC behavior is really a psychological condition that has basically been pushed onto us by our society. Then the rest of it could be cool stuff. I don't know.
All right. So, well, Mark makes a good point. I was going to go into that, like my fairy ring theory and all of that. The multiverse theory really lends a good hand to NPC activity. So just like Mark was saying, if we have many, many, many parallel universes, if there's one of us in each one of those, and we have one consciousness, would it freely move into different ones? And just like Pam said, then you've got Mandela effect popping up, and you've got jots happening, because while each one of those universes are probably pretty much the same, there's going to be some differences because different things have kind of changed and shifted in each one of them. So you're going to see these little oddities pop up, and the lines that your consciousness is currently not in are your NPCs, are your non-player characters, until your consciousness moves over and wakes that one up in kind of a fashion, not, you're sitting there and all of a sudden you're like, boing, I'm here, yay. So I don't
you
think
don't
we
notice
really know.
because
Yeah.
you're just surfing. It's like surfing the channels on the TV. To you, you're you all the time, but to other people, you may not be.
Yeah. Now, interestingly enough, and I've talked about this before on some, I don't know if I've talked about it on here, but I've talked about it on other shows. There are scientists that study multiverse theory and interdimensional theory and have this concept kind of working in their theories. And they believe that schizophrenics are actually have their conscious woken up in multiple lines at the same time. So they're actually existing and with multiple lines all at the same time. And while it's probably everything that they're doing is making perfect sense to them, it looks like insanity to us, to the one person in the one line that's dealing with them.
It would absolutely.
It could be overload too.
There was a TV show on Sci-Fi Channel a couple years ago, back when Sci-Fi Channel had sci-fi shows on. It was the TV version of 12 Monkeys, and they had basically it still involved like a lot of time travel, going back, trying to change the future, that kind of thing. And you find out through the story as it goes on, because it was even in the movie, because there was like a super crazy girl that was in the movie. She was one of these. There are certain people that when there's a shift in the timeline, they go back into the past and they change the future, kind of a thing. They see both versions of it, of the alternate timeline that they just created from going back in time and the original timeline, and it drives them crazy and stuff like that. So that sounds kind of similar to what you're just saying, is being aware that a second ago, the Germans won World War II or whatever the scenario is, kind of a thing, and now it's different. Everything is different from that point forward.
I really feel like it would take a lot of energy to make a jump that far. I think you'd more likely to be in those universes that are closest to yours, your central one.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Where the differences are microscopic, that you even just, brush off as being, I'm dumb. They were right here all along.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Make you second guess yourself.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
It's nutty. Yeah. Another interesting one I found was called fate theory. And this one's interesting too, especially if you hold true that you think that everyone has like a destiny, like everyone was put here for a particular reason, or you have some ultimate goal that you're being led to get to. So in fate theory, it states that we have an ultimate fate or a conclusive meaning behind our lives, and we're somehow being kind of orchestrated by an outside influence. And NPCs are simply put there to kind of guide us along the way, like little signposts and, pushing us in the right direction. So I thought that one was kind of interesting, and that leans towards video games.
It does,
too.
big time. That's what I was just thinking.
That really leans towards simulation theory. Like there's only
Yeah.
a few real people out there, and just like you're on The Sims, there's only a few people being played as a character, and
yeah,
there's some backgrounds
we will get into like crazy.
Is that different from like a predestination that's like, no matter what you do, you are going to be the one that's going to be there to put out the fire so that the building doesn't burn down and then people are born and blah, blah, blah? Or is it, because like me personally, I'm a free will all the way down, all the way. You could certainly, there may be situations where you're the right person in the right place at the right time to do the right thing, which I certainly believe in. But at that last second, you could always say, no, I'm not doing that.
You could veer off that course.
Yeah. Well, fate theory allows for that, for personal choice, but those are there to ultimately kind of guide and push you to make the correct choices. Now, we were kind of discussing this backstage a little bit. I was giggling a little bit. There's Dolores Cannon, and I cannot for the life of me remember the name of her series of books she wrote on this particular topic. But she called them, what was it? Backdrop people.
Yes.
And Dolores Cannon is very woo-woo. I will give you a heads up. She's very old Earth, new Earth, and the beings have come in from other planets, and we were placed here for an ultimate reason that we're all pointed towards. And in her books, there are the divine people that were brought here to do a specific thing, and they have a specific goal in life and a fate that they have to finish. And everyone else is a backdrop person, and they're solely there to push you and guide you and or to throw obstacles in your way so you can overcome them to help them on your ultimate path. And she's very much this is what's going to happen, and these people were put here to ultimately do that.
It's the Convoluted Universe series.
Oh, there you go. The Convoluted Universe series. Yeah. Interesting. Like she's not my favorite. She's extraordinarily woo-woo. Like she pushes the boundaries of woo-woo. But I always think it's good. I've read most of those books. It's always good to see another point of view because it can help influence the way you look at things overall. It's always good to know what everyone's thinking so you can kind of come up with your own decisions. She does actually have some very good ideas and theories on different topics. She just leans a little.
You need to take from it what works for you and leave the rest. Yeah, absolutely. Very much so with her. She's an interesting lady, though.
She is. She's very interesting. So we can actually go even a little nuttier than Dolores Cannon. So we can start getting into the alien side of things. Do you guys want to touch on the alien stuff?
Sure.
So there's alien. There's alien imposters theory. And they're basically the outside beings that were placed on the earth to resemble us because they're studying us. So they've brought in these fakers. So we're getting into like Men in Black movie type kind of stuff that these NPC players don't know quite how to act normally because they're not actually one of us. They're basically like moles or spies placed here by other, by aliens or outside forces to study us.
So these are the ones you may see that are wearing the clothes from the 50s or their socks are inside out or
very Men in Black.
I feel like they're starting to be more of them than there are of everybody else.
On the internet, for sure.
It seems I feel like we're stuck in a never-ending loop of the movie.
Groundhog Day.
No, what the heck was it? They Live.
Oh.
See who all the
Ian said it sounds legit. Yeah, no kidding.
Are you out of bubble gum, Mark?
I am out of a lot of things, mostly since.
That's so funny. And I'm all out of bubble gum.
Yeah, and another one that kind of hinges on that is the alien hybrid theory. So a lot of people are attributing that the reason why, they're taking ladies and stuff and they're intermixing aliens with humans, and these are what are with us, and they're more alien than they are human. So we're seeing these traits of strangeness. They're trying to interbreed with us, so eventually they'll get rid of the human population and it'll be alien.
Pseudo history said there's only the past, tomorrow never comes, and the present is fleeting. Interesting.
I thought where you were going with like the hybrid kind of a thing was the hybrids are the NPCs because they don't know how to act around humans, and they're trying to learn how to human by hanging around and watching us and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Or maybe we're all laying in a tube someplace with wires plugged into the back.
Oh, the Matrix. Yeah. Yep. In the neuro, what's it called? The neuro something. Whoa. Where it's plugged in.
Yeah.
Could be.
There's your
pretty
pill.
Wild.
Oh.
Interesting though. And the alien theory is interesting because I could see that where, they could be here to watch and not to involve themselves. And, it makes you wonder if that is the case, how many times they're like wanting to involve themselves so badly because they see us getting ready to really screw something up and they can't do anything about it.
And see, I'm one of those believers in the fact that when real aliens come through this solar system, they lock the doors and just keep on going. Hopefully they don't have to stop again.
Yeah.
Going by the ghetto.
Yeah.
We're not stopping. I don't care, kids. We're not
Roll
stopping.
Windows up, kids. Yeah.
Could be, for sure.
Don't make eye contact.
So what do you think? Are we ready to move on to the simulation theory?
We can. So where NPCs are concerned.
Yeah. So when it comes to the simulation theory, let's start out with a little bit of a definition. And what I have, and you guys can add to this, simulation theory says that we are all likely living in an extremely powerful computer program directed by an entity outside of our physical comprehension. In this situation, humans aren't necessarily real and tangible beings, but instead predetermined, coded constructs of the digital world that we inhabit. Living in a simulation can be likened to living in a gigantic game of The Sims, except we ourselves are the characters inside of the screen.
Well, I hope whoever's playing me has the lottery soon.
Pseudo history. If God was a scientist, we would simply live in Petri dish 1, which is a type of simulation. Yeah, you're right. You're not wrong.
And that's go ahead with these.
Yeah.
Good.
Hybrid humans crossed with harvested bovine anus at Skinwalker Ranch is a recipe for failure.
That explains all the assholes I meet every day.
Certainly met some people like that. That's for sure.
It's a new word, though. Bovine anus.
A lot of them are just equine anuses.
That's true.
Horse's ass, yes. But as far as the definition of the simulation theory goes, is some super outside of our comprehension entity is created this simulation of Earth and all of us and all that. Are we brains in a bottle and plugged into this matrix kind of a thing, or are we all part of the simulation where we've got this specific set of programming that we've gotten throughout our years of growing up that is supposed to affect all that. Because if you're a scientist and you're wanting to build a simulation to see how life would evolve and things like that, you would never interfere with it, because you have to see how the simulation plays out. That's what it's for, is you're trying to determine, okay, if these monkey guys evolve into something higher and somehow develop nuclear weapons, let's see where this is going to go, and so on. Is that what we're talking about as far as the simulation, where someone's just outside observing and not interfering, or is it a game where they do?
That's the interesting part. There's a couple of different theories. There's, you've got the one where it's everything we know is simulated. So basically everything that exists, every person, every object, the environment, everything, every, occurrence, every sensation, everything is just a byproduct of code. Basically, everything's coded, everything's zeros and ones. And then you've got the other thought that the world that we know is simulated. So in this scenario, this would be like humans themselves are real and organic, but the world and, like the people that surround us, that they are simulated. So, yeah, I don't know. That's interesting.
Yeah. So, like, you could even, like, and I don't know which way, like, it could say, like, we ourselves are the computers. The 2017 gene sequencing accident.
Yeah.
In 2017, there was this group of researchers at the
Washington State,
because I want to say it correctly.
Are you talking about
the University
State?
of Washington proved that they could embed malicious computer code into physical strands of DNA. Their aim was to show that computers working gene sequencing were vulnerable to attack. But they may have inadvertently revealed that what we perceive to be biological reality was in fact computer code all along. They can actually upload computer viruses into DNA chains.
I have to put this up. Pseudo History said the world was becoming a pile of monkey dung, so the aliens had sex with monkeys to create us, to clean up the mess. Maybe so.
I don't think we're doing that part very well either.
It's a good as theory as any, actually.
No.
What's interesting about the DNA thing, I followed up on that. I can't remember the guy's name that was involved. His name is escaping me. I thought I had it written down somewhere. Maybe I do. I can't remember. I'm not going to look for it. But when it comes to DNA computing, they've moved on with that from 2017 up to 2023 now. And they're basically taking DNA nanotechnology and combining it with computer science. And it's really cool because it does show like this massively parallel nature of like molecules and stuff. But it can be programmed, and it, can cascade into this really complicated chemical reaction and stuff and into networks. But they can use these integrated circuits, and those can be implemented to really realize what machine learning is and what the artificial neural networks are and things like that. So I think it's interesting where they're going with it. It's really fascinating stuff. Yeah. But it is, back in 2017 when they realized that they could put the malware in. That's scary.
Yeah, it's really scary.
That's like
I also have, and I went and re-looked it back up again because I wanted to make sure it was up to date. The James Gate stuff.
Yeah.
You all remember James Gate? He is a theoretical physicist, and he identified actual computer code embedded in the equations of string theory.
He did.
Yeah.
He found the error correcting code in string theory.
He found the correcting codes that, fix basic computer code issues embedded in like the beginning of our universe. So why is that in there? Why would we need correcting codes in the beginnings of our entire universe?
I don't think that I think we might be taking that a little too literally, that there's like some kind of like basic, command structure kind of a thing to the universe saying that. It's like, yeah, that's our laws of nature, physics, and mathematics. That's what that is. It's not that, if monkeys set off the nuclear thing, then revert back to 1945 and start again, and until they don't do that. It's nothing like that. It's just it's basically, that's discovering the laws of the universe. That's how our universe is built.
Yes.
It's not necessarily a specific hard-coded if then kind of statement. It's basically, he's discovering how the universe works, and that's not necessarily an artificial design. That's how nature works.
Well, I'm not implying that it's not a natural design. I'm just implying that I'm saying that the fact that code that we've come up with now that works our general computers and stuff is based in our original stuff.
It's more organic than we realize.
It's more organic than we realize. So what's this connection here that we're soon probably going to be finding, because we're on this path now? What is that connection there? That is really interesting. So when we're saying things like NPCs and stuff like that, I think there's more to it than what we think. Not saying that our whole world is fake and that we're all a computer thing, but this is all working together somehow. And it's just really interesting to me how this is all going to work out. Not that we'll ever probably know in our lifetimes.
I'm kicking myself for not following through with this research, and I had forgotten about it till just now. There is a guy who had, I can't remember. Oh, I'm going to screw this up big time. He had recognized code, and when he looked at things a certain way through a certain lens. I'm tearing this up. I'm going to have to find it, and I'll put it in show notes or something.
Was this from like a few weeks ago? The people that were using the lasers and were looking at it and seeing the code and the
Yes. I thought that was interesting, and I wanted to. I had it marked down to follow up on it, and I never followed up on it. It could be a bunch of hokum. More than likely, it very well may be. But it's interesting, and I was curious to see what the background of that was and where it was coming from. I know that he had invited people over and without telling them anything said, hey, look at this and tell me what you see. And they were saying without fail, zeros and ones. I'm seeing zeros and ones. What does this mean? Well, it's code. Zeros and ones are code. So, and you're right, it was through laser.
So some of them were even describing the classic Matrix style stuff where you could see like weird letters that were like Chinese letters and stuff like that. And they were describing a lot of things, but it's not like they were somehow getting pictures of it and recording it and writing it all down and trying to cipher it all out and stuff.
I don't think he was that far along with it, was he? He was pretty much just figuring it out. If it's anything.
There's part of me that's like, yeah, those guys are just high.
Right?
They smoke some of the devil's lettuce and just saw something weird in a laser.
That's some really good devil's lettuce if they came up with that. I was gonna say, yeah.
Which, I mean, I'm not saying that's a bad thing.
It isn't.
It isn't. So I'm going to throw out a question here, and this is just because you brought it up into my mind with this discussion, and I just want everybody to think about it. So, if they are finding that we have recreated the code from the beginning of the universe, what happens when they accidentally rediscover how magic works? Wouldn't magic just be rewriting the code of the universe?
What happens when if say we are in a simulated reality? What happens when whoever is over that simulated reality figures out that we're figuring out all of this?
They rewrite it.
It won't matter to us, will it?
They rewrite it and we jump lines again.
That may
maybe that's why there's been this huge
could be
crash here this last, few months where
maybe
everything
that's the
seems
point.
to have tilted.
Or maybe that's the whole point of the experiment.
Maybe so.
Who knows? I don't know. I just like throwing things out there and seeing where they stick.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a billion
Fascinating.
different possibilities for what it is or what it could be, or
A billion,
if
billion,
it exists
billion.
at all. Infinite nearly. But assuming that it's just a simulation that someone has created to see, okay, we got this lonely little planet, medium-sized yellow star. It's got these components of star, and we're just going to see how life develops. How it proceeds over the next 5 billion years. That kind of a thing, tracking how it goes. There wouldn't ever be corrections in that. You would never have any, because you'd just let it run. You wouldn't touch it. You're just observing at that point. If you're a scientist looking at this super simulation, which, let's be honest, to do that, it's going to require some major, computational horsepower, way more than anything we can create as a species even today.
Right.
We're talking, you're talking, the energy and computational powers of like a Dyson sphere plus.
Yes.
To gather the energy and all the different computations because we've got nearly 8 billion people on this planet. Are all of them participants in that? Even if you're going to do the classic, 3D game argument of, well, it only draws the part that you can see, that you observe. You're not going to see, if you're in front of a building, it's not going to draw the stuff behind the building, that kind of stuff.
Right. Yeah.
Even
a double
with that
experiment.
well,
It's gonna be pixels until you get close to it. Then it's going to
right.
come into full
And the
view.
double slit thing, that's
That's crazy.
is a mess. Everything's different when you observe it. That is mind blowing. I don't necessarily say, I don't think that's necessarily a simulation thing at all, because cards on the table. I don't believe in the simulation theory at all. There's a lot of other things I think would come into play if that was the case. And on this show alone, from past episodes of this, for all the people that are glitch people, we have other explanations that would also fit for any of those glitch scenarios
that are much simpler.
Without getting into that, because
using Occam's razor, the simplest solution is probably the solution. So
more than likely. So for those that don't know what the double slit experiment is, so basically what it is an experiment where particles are fired in a straight line at a screen, and it passes through this single slit. And when it passes through that single slit, we see like this clumping pattern on the screen. And so if you try this with a wave, you're going to expect to see a pattern where they're more dense, in the middle of the screen, and then they radiate out like a wave. But when we add that second slit, think about like if you throw a rock in the lake and you get your wave out, right? So say that someone's standing next to you and they throw a rock in, same time you throw a rock in. So both these waves are going to be going out, right? And they're going to, at some point, they're going to run into each other, and they're going to cancel each other out, basically. Yeah. So that's what they were seeing with the wave with the double slit experiment. That's what the double slit experiment is. So, and when they cancel each other out, what that's called is the interference pattern. Am I right? Am I on track so far?
Correct.
Okay. Don't
for the
understand
wave
1,000,000% of this, but I can kind of
for single, because we're talking about photons, which act as both a particle and as a wave.
Yes.
And when you've got the two slits for particles, it would like you were shooting a paintball gun through two slits in a wall. You just see two vertical clumpings, or the other way if you have it that way. Anyways, you'd see two bands of clumping things if it was a particle.
Yep.
As a wave, they intersect with each other as they go through there, so you would see multiple bands going across. I didn't know if you want to go ahead and continue on.
No, you're good. No, that's great. So
Because
basically scientists, they wanted to see what was causing this. So what they did was they went and they added what they called a detector. And so say you've got your thing here and it's got double slits in it. It's got a slit here and a slit here. Let me get my hand out in front of the microphone there. And so when you're shooting things at it, here's slit A, here's slit B, you put a detector right here. So when it's basically watching these things go through the slit. And when they did this, things got really interesting because as soon as those detectors were installed, the interference pattern went away and it started to clump again with the double slit, which is really strange because if they took the detectors away, the wave interference came back. Am I still right? Am I good?
Right.
And so basically what the scientists did, they tried this thing where they would put the detector there, but then they would unplug it. So the photons would sense, they would know that they would have awareness that the detector is there. So they would act in a way like they were being watched. Okay. And so that wave interference was back. But when they unplugged it, they thought they were still being, watched. So that wave interference came back, which is really interesting because that gives them the idea that there's an awareness of these photons and that they're going to act differently when they're being watched as opposed to when they're not being watched. And that right there really...
They even took it a step further where they were using light from stars that are like thousands of light years away. So the light is leaving that star and it takes 1,000 years to get here, just as an example.
Mhm.
So it's either going to be a particle or a wave. So they would do it again, and it'd be a particle. It's before it hits the double slits. It's a particle, so it should have the clumping. But you're observing it then, and it somehow magically turns into waves after traveling 1,000 years to get here. Did it somehow go back in time and change it to a particle or a wave 1,000 years ago till it reached Earth? It's weird. I think overall, and this is a super simplification, is we just don't understand completely how photons work. Because
we don't.
There's way more to it than that. It certainly, that is an objective observation that if you look at it, it's going to be a particle. If you don't look at it, it's going to be a wave. That's significant. We don't quite have that other part figured out of why it's doing that.
And that portion, that's called the retro causality. And you're right. We don't know. They don't know. If anybody knew, they'd have a Nobel Prize, obviously, right now.
Yes, they would.
I think it has to do with quantum entanglement by an observer.
Very well could. Very well could. But and you're right, Enzo, what we're probably going to find out is this is just another step in the path to understanding what photons really are on down the road, that we're just not quite there yet. But yeah, it's fascinating. It's a fascinating step to take. I don't know. It's pretty wild.
Yeah.
That one gets me excited.
That's a super weird one when it comes to physics.
It could just be our simulation and it's reserving its resources and only showing us as much as we need to see.
That's right.
Da, 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 da.
It could be. It could be. It absolutely could be. So I don't know.
Putin's cat asks, "Are we talking quantum physics?" I don't know. We might be. I mean,
we don't know.
we don't know what we're talking about, and we freely admit that.
And even actual people that know what they're talking about for quantum physics, it's still a grab bag because they, even amongst themselves, they'll argue back and forth for days and days about it, and still come to the same conclusions afterwards. Like, we still don't know.
Yeah, some of the big ones too.
And just remember, I may be a moron, but I'm still right. Like a clock, I'm still a broke clock. I'm still right.
Why is that?
So You just don't know when.
Interesting stuff, though.
It
That
varies.
gets me excited, though, and that makes me wish I had more of a background in physics. Yeah, Putin's cat. Yeah, absolutely. Quantum physics is very real. Absolutely,
Right.
it
We
is.
base a lot of our theories on quantum physics theory, so
Yeah,
we're aware of it. We don't understand it, but neither do
yeah,
they.
yeah.
Neither
We don't have.
Yeah.
Speaking for myself, I don't have a firm grasp on any of it. I know just enough to know I don't know very much.
Hey, that's the same as the scientists.
But I'm excited about it, and I think it's a fascinating field, and I think there's so much to it.
For stuff like that, I kind of equate it out to pi, 3.14, blah blah. If you're building a giant circle, you want it to come out perfectly, circular. You need to go out more than just 3.14 there, because it goes out infinitely. Those numbers after that decimal point. We don't know what's past a couple of decimal points when it comes as far as like quantum physics and stuff like that. We're still learning. We're still trying to noodle it all through, because it's difficult to even wrap your head around, much less get it right. And it's difficult to even prove it once you think you have a working theory, because it takes a long time and a lot of study and a lot of, as sad as it is to say, a lot of money because there's scientists out there that have spent their entire lives working on this kind of stuff, and it takes up all of their time. And it's not one of those things you can just kind of get out some graph paper and the protractor and figure it all out over a weekend. It's a lifetime that some of these guys have done, and they're still not 100% positive on any of it.
Pi has been, just for instance, your examples, pi has only been calculated out to 105 trillion decimal places.
Is that all?
That is all. I mean,
it's nuts. That is nuts. Yeah, and it is interesting, because when you start talking about quantum physics and things like that, and we were talking earlier, we've got the scientists at the University of Washington that were embedding the computer code. They learned how to embed it into strands of DNA, and they've really made some progress with that over the years. What's really cool, and where I'm going with that is the fact that, and we kind of touched on it, everything in nature comes back to math. Everything's is mathematically based. And, you've got the Fibonacci sequence.
Fibonacci sequence, yeah.
Thank you, Fibonacci. So I'm going to try to explain that one. Help me out, Enzo, if I get off track here. So you get the sequence comes by adding the two previous numbers in the sequence together. So you've got 1 + 2, or 1 + 1 = 2, 2 + 1 = 3, 3 + 2 = 5, 5 + 3 = 8, on and on and on. And then you've got the golden ratio, which is phi. You get that by dividing the two consecutive Fibonacci numbers. So there's your circular, you get like the number 89 is a Fibonacci number. The number after that's 144, and if you take that 144 and you divide it by the 9, then you get the 1.618, which is the golden ratio. And the golden ratio, we see that everywhere. We see that in everywhere. Yeah. You look at the different types of flowers, petals on flowers, seashells, the galaxy,
it scales all the way up to, from the tiniest microorganisms that grow like that into, this spiral, this very specific spiral, all the way up to galaxy formation. If you were to do the top down for, how the galaxy is formed, kind of like, it follows the exact same ratio.
It may even scale up from there. We just don't have a way to measure it.
We don't have the perspective to see it when it gets into giant groups like that.
And it applies to animals and people too. You've got most everybody, unless they have an anomaly or anomalous body, they're going to follow that too. You've got one nose, you've got two eyes, you've got two ears, like your fingers have 3 joints in them, and you've got 5 digits on, hands and feet, things like that. It's just, it's cool how everything is so symphonic, it's like, it's the symphony of the universe kind of thing to, be poetic about it. It's interesting though.
So, I mean, going by that though, then all of these alien races that people believe are out there, it wouldn't be such a coincidence if they happened to be bipedal.
Not really, no. It could happen for sure.
As far as we can suppose, because unfortunately we only have a life set example set of one Earth. Could they have, could there be a race out there that has two small arms for fine manipulation on one side of their body and one big giant arm for the heavy lifting? Could be.
Could be.
That kind
of thing.
They
could be octopuses.
Or they could be an octopi with what is it, like the 12-lobed brain and all that stuff.
Even the little ones are scary smart.
Very intelligent.
I've watched them open jars. They've unlock their cages.
Yep, squeeze out of very tiny holes to go over to the next aquarium over and eat all the fish and then squeeze back in through the hole.
And act like they didn't do anything. Yeah.
They're not dumb.
Fascinating.
Yes. So stop eating them.
Yeah.
Oh, no, they're delicious. Sorry.
Speaking of that, I'm rewatching Resident Alien.
Yeah. Oh, I love that show.
Yes, and I'm in season 2 where he just had to take care of his friend, his octopi friend, or his cousin, I guess is what it is, when he died. Made me sad. Great show. On Peacock. Let me throw that in.
There you go.
Yeah.
I keep thinking I'm going to get rid of it. But... Did we want to talk about some of the other like video game theories and stuff like that?
Absolutely.
Why not? Let's go for it.
Okay. So
playing a very boring game of Skyrim.
One of the ones that I have is Nick Bostrom's simulation hypothesis, which posits that if humanity can survive long enough to create technology capable of running convincing simulations of reality, it will create many such simulations, and therefore there will be lots of simulated realities and only one base reality. So statistically, it's probable that we more likely live in a simulation right now, that this has already occurred, which freaks me out to think that there's just how many. And I think we talked about this because we talked about this a little bit on the What If Tomorrow on the Friends show at one point. And Phil had brought up the fact that we have things like The Sims and stuff now.
Right.
And what if some of those characters have even the smallest spark of consciousness? We've created another world. And because that one, I remember that one scared me because I remember my daughter when she was little, she played The Sims, and I walked in once and there was someone just on fire in this room on her screen. And I was like, what's going on? And she goes, oh, I set him on fire. He'll burn out. And I was just like, God.
That's terrifying because we don't know who is in charge, if there is a higher being or somebody on a different multiverse.
God, I hope it's not my kid. I hope.
And that's the thing is
cruel 8-year-old. Let's make them blow themselves up.
Yeah, exactly. Make them fight each other. That's when it gets cool. Yeah,
or the movie Men in Black, we could be on Orion's belt, in the little universe that's on the kitties.
Because I also played The Sims, and after a while of playing it straight, you get tired of it. Or there's like one of the ancillary characters is always coming over to your house and messing stuff up. It's like, you son of a...
Yes.
Here's a door. Walk out onto the roof, and then you disappear the door. You just dismantle it, so it's gone. Now they're just stuck on the roof, so they can't eat anything. They can't go to the bathroom, and then they end up dying up there on the roof. And all that, because you just want to get rid of them because they're just screwing everything up whatever your plan is.
Okay.
We don't necessarily see that in our real world where people
do we?
Not to that extent. It's not like
not
people
often.
just I mean, I guess if you really wanted to go bananas with it, you could blame everything on the simulation theory.
Oh,
for
yeah.
sure. It's like, missing 411 people. They
Yeah.
Right.
They
Yeah.
built a door, they shoved them through, and then it disappeared the door. Screw that guy. He's screwing up my
Yeah.
simulation thing. If it's an actual scientific simulation going back throughout all of history and seeing how a race would evolve from, just, single cell, stuff billions of years ago, you would never touch it, because that's part of the experiment, is to see how it progresses on its own, that kind of thing. So if we're assuming, because that's the other part of it is, and this goes back to NPC stuff, is everyone Earth part of the simulation? Is it just me? That I know, I think, therefore I am. That Greek guy said, or French guy said it. So that it must be true. So does that mean everyone else, every one of you is in my simulation? No, that's ridiculous. That would be super arrogant, which I am not. But it's one of those things that you have to think about as far as an overall thing. That's one of the reasons why I'm not a big believer in it, amongst other reasons. But it's one of those, is there 8 billion, people that they're trying to simulate, all trying to do the same thing, or different things all over the world the whole time. Is Australia real? Is that just all NPC stuff? It's all fake things. And they just happen, if you happen to travel there, they just, okay, here's
They all wake up.
it's a side mission. You're going to go
Even
there
if it
to
was just
Australia.
the Earth. Let's try to imagine this. You'd need a software engine for every person, every microbe, every virus, every blade of grass, every ant, every
insect,
molecule.
every wild piece of wildlife, from
down to
single-cell
subatomic
organisms. Yes.
There'd have to be a separate software engine for every single subatomic particle. And I'm like you, I really don't believe in simulation theory.
Michio Kaku, he's one of my favorites. He's very personable, but that's the reason he doesn't believe in simulation theory, is because it's just too overwhelming. There's too much that would have to power it to be able to do it.
I was actually kind of misquoting Michio when I mentioned you would need basically a Dyson sphere full of energy and computational power to do it. It probably not.
Computer would be bigger than the universe itself. Yeah.
And that's
the answer is
that's
42.
But the question.
Whatever you want.
So what do you guys think about the new computer that has been built? The
quantum computer?
Yes, the quantum computer. Because it's like, I can't remember how big it was, some infinitesimal number.
I don't know.
6 flat Earths on a cube to fulfill the scientific method. I love it. But
that's funny.
That's good. I like it. But quantum computing is an exponential jump from like what we're using right now to communicate with each other and play The Sims, that kind of that kind of stuff, where it's you've got, once that has been around for a while and miniaturized and stuff like that, it would be, instead of asking your phone through whatever process you had, whatever your personal assistant of brand is, I won't say any of that, since everyone's machine's off, it would be way more lifelike. It would be very realistic, because there's, even with a quantum computer, some have even said, don't know if this is actually true, it's hard to believe, but they have the computing power to kind of almost see those branching networks of decisions on a timeline, kind of a thing. If you go left, you're going to change, you'll do this and get no car accident. If you go right, you're going to lead a great life and have ice cream for dinner. Whatever it is, it has that level of computational power. It's a giant power up computer wise going quantum.
It would be. I'm trying to pull up. I know it's Google, and they named it Willow. It's their state-of-the-art quantum chip, and it has let's see, it can solve a computation in under 5 minutes that would take a supercomputer 10 septillion years.
Septillion.
Septillion. That is more time than the universe itself has existed.
How much is a septillion? What?
It's a lot.
I need to.
I don't know. That's a good
look it
question.
up.
Let me look. How much is a septillion?
How much is a septillion?
I can look it up if you want.
Oh my goodness! I don't even
that's
know.
10 to the 24th power.
Yep.
Yeah.
Holy heck!
That's crazy.
Ooh, maybe one day I'll be a septillionaire.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
You can buy planets with that. You could.
That's right. You guys want a planet for Christmas?
I'm
I can do
buying
that.
Earth. You guys get out.
Not if
You're
I
on my
get
property.
first.
do you know why we should do the green initiative that they proposed a few years back? What? Because in order to have enough money just to run the United States, we would have to not only tax every person on the planet, we would have to tax the people from several other planets to make it work. So we'd have to, conquer a couple other planets. So, I mean, it might be worth it.
Maybe.
Sure.
I'm completely sidetracked here. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, but the comment you put up there before, it's the beginning of that type of technology. Don't expect all the bells and whistles up front. It's still highly experimental and stuff like that. But that's the next big thing.
Yeah, our grandkids or our great grandkids might.
Oh, I don't know it'll necessarily be that far.
Well, I don't know.
I was thinking more like 20, 30 years or so.
I remember going from TI-30 calculator that cost $200 to now I carry around a phone that can do everything that I used to have a whole room full of gadgets for. I mean,
it's like, my smartwatch has more processing power than anything that went to the moon, in the 60s and
the
70s.
entire space program.
Yeah. It's pretty wild.
Your smartwatch has more processing power than the entire United States government had, probably.
Oh, yeah, for that time, yeah.
Yeah. So
ancestral simulations. That's the word I was looking for from Bostrom.
Oh.
Ancestral
yeah,
simulations.
I was gonna talk about that because there's like a climate change theory.
Yeah. Ooh.
Based on that.
Yeah, talk about that one.
So, well, basically they're saying that our civilization is like coincidentally set on the cusp of an environmental like chaos getting ready to happen, suggesting that ancestor simulation has come in and created it in hopes that we'd show our creators how to solve their own energy crisis. We're just playing out, they're playing it out over and over again with all these different,
scenarios,
major catastrophes to see what happens to us so that they can fix their own situation.
That's interesting. The simulation is given all the same variables on whatever their home planet is, where they've got multiple different countries, some of which like them, some of which don't.
Probably their own planet is probably what our simulation is based on.
Right.
Yeah.
So that they can like fast forward, the simulation kind of a thing. It's like, okay, how do these guys figure it out, or do they not figure it out?
It's like the spaghetti models at the Weather Service.
Right. Is if they don't figure it out, then that would mean that they're running multiple different simulations all at the same time for efficiency purposes to get an answer. So, which we've now multiplied our Dyson spheres plus even more for that future, whoever it is that's running the simulation.
Yeah, I don't I really don't buy the whole simulation theory. I mean, it's a very fascinating subject, and I think that it's worthwhile having the conversation even at upper levels of scientific community, because I really do believe that we will acquire new technology and whatnot from it, but I just can't see the entire theory being feasible even on a planetary scale, let alone intergalactic or what have you.
Normally what we throw out there, it's going to have a little bit of spark of truth in it somewhere. We may not know which part it is right now.
Yeah, time will tell.
Yeah.
My thought in general. I'm sorry, go ahead, Mark.
Or maybe it won't because it'll be too important for national security.
Yeah.
Oh, national security.
Pseudo history said your blood is ancient. The blood is like a river that flows back through time. If you were here now, you were there then. Yeah.
Interesting.
The iron that's in your red blood cells was formed in the center of a star that exploded billions of years ago.
I was going to say, we're all stardust, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
As far as simulation theory and to wrap it, actually spin it around to NPCs, for me, this is my idea. And it's not that alien a thing. There's other people that have come up with this as well. Is if somehow they proved it, where they said, look, there's code. This is how you can see the code in everything. Everything is this. And, and all the people are, brains in a bottle outside the matrix or whatever it is. What would that do to society? What would people do if they discovered that what you're doing really matters anyways? It's all a simulation and can get some janitor mop it up in the middle of the night, trips on the power cord, and we're all just disintegrated into nothing. Is people would first they would probably just lay down and just wait to die from starvation, I guess, and then get tired of that and realize, okay, I still need to go to my 9 and 5. So I'm putting the minimal amount of effort in. I'm going to go in and do my 9 to 5. I'm not going to do anything else past that, which means they've turned into one of the NPCs, because that's exactly how the NPCs act. Like they've suddenly discovered, holy crap, simulation theory is real and nothing I do matters.
Or maybe
I don't want to die starving to death, so I'm going to keep doing my basic job, and that's kind of it.
Mm-hmm. And that's a big thing. Is you've got a lot of the scientists that believe in simulation theory, or that are leaning towards simulation theory. A lot of them are staunch atheists, and then you've got others that are religious, and they're the ones that say, if you go there, you're going to have mass chaos because people are going to think they can just get away with anything. But that's really, is that true or not? Because you're still going to be held accountable in your reality.
The atheist comment as well out there during my research here the last several days. But so basically, really, the simulation theory is the atheist saying it's their version of what a higher power would be, because somebody's running that simulation somewhere, without putting a capital G God on it.
Right.
So that's the people that scream, well, it's all a simulation anyway. That's really what it boils down to, I feel, for a lot of people.
Really?
They can't be bothered to, and I kind of understand, you may not necessarily want to plant your flag in a very specific, religion somewhere, but I'm just going to say it's whoever's running the simulation somewhere up there.
Well, isn't that God? Basically,
right? They'd have the same.
From our perspective, as a simulation, yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
It would make no difference.
My mother she would freak out if she heard me say that right now. But she does not lean that way towards thinking. But it's the truth. It's just your perspective, honestly.
Right.
Because you're looking at a higher power either way.
Whether God has created the universe or created a simulation, it makes no difference to
The
us.
same thing. Right.
Mhm.
You know,
I mean,
God or whoever created a simulation, if you're going to separate into two similar things, it all is the same thing in the end, where somebody set up basic rules for this universe. Okay, Big Bang, this stuff coalesces into matter, forms stars, forms
Right.
planets. Some of the planets get little bugs that start flying around on it and evolve into monkeys with nukes. So it's one of those things where it's the same thing, just you're just
Put a different label
planting
on it.
a name on one that has ancient books dedicated to it, and the newfangled, well, the simulation.
Dr. Bob.
The simulation and God with a capital G is it's the same idea, honestly, from beginning.
Putin's cat threw out there, if there's no after, there's no point. Maybe, nobody knows what's out there after, regardless. We're not going to know until we're in the after, whatever it is. So maybe that's why we don't know. Who knows?
You might as well expect there, as far as your behavior goes, you might as well just assume there is and behave accordingly. Because what is it going to hurt you?
It's not.
Exactly.
If the end is near, pseudo history said, if the end is near, the end becomes the beginning, and the starting line, the finish. Yeah, you're right. Every ending is a beginning of something. We don't know what. If they flip the switch when they decide the simulation is over, are we going to care? No, we're not going to care.
We'll just back up. We'll just reboot from a backup.
Yeah, and then be like, where did I leave my keys?
Right, exactly.
Lost my keys in the last patch update. Damn it.
Right.
Right.
A heaven simulation. Putin's cat said a heaven simulation. Maybe that's where we end up. I don't know.
Who knows?
It's fascinating, though.
Deep, don't it?
Yeah.
I'm going to need a shovel to get out of here.
I know.
Just for fun, I got up and hunted around a little bit and found a couple of stories of people's real life encounters with what they thought were NPCs, and they're really short. So I thought we'd talk about them a little bit because they're a little interesting. And this is kind of hinging on glitch in the matrix kind of stuff too. So, which I think Pam and I were discussing, maybe that will be the topic for our next show, because it'll just slide right in to glitch in the matrix.
Why not?
So yeah, that's what I was thinking. It's kind of perfect. Oh my gosh, the stories we can pull for glitch in the matrix. Woo, that'll be fun. All right. So this first one I'm going to tell, it's called I Discovered an Actual NPC, and I'm just going to read them because they're super interesting. It says, I'm quite a skeptical person, but this always has me at a loss. My girlfriend's family lives a little ways away, and so often I'll drive us over to visit with them. Without fail, and I mean every time, when we leave back home, and for some reason only when we leave the town to head back home, this man is out walking his dog at the exact same position. Now, sure, it could, of course, just be his routine, and I'm just having a timing coincidence, right? No. We're talking it could be 3 p.m. or it could be 11 p.m. and he's still always cutting the corner exactly when we pass, as if he's spawning in. It's so odd. It's like we're seeing it replayed over and over and over, and it's always completely consistent. We always mention it on the way back and check, and without fail, he is there. I play a lot of games, and I swear to you, if this was happening in a game, I'd be complaining about the lack of NPC variety. One of these days, I'm going to just be brave and pull over and politely ask how frequently he walks his dog. Who knows? Maybe he's thinking, damn, every time I be walking my dog, that white car passes.
Yes, he may be thinking the same thing.
But I thought that one was interesting. Literally cutting a corner, walking his dog, no matter the time of day or night. They always see him when they leave this town. Consistently. So
honestly,
I mean, that would...
kind of reminds me of your guys' story of seeing the jogger when you
Yes.
had time
Yeah.
anomaly.
Yep.
A little, yeah. But that jogger wasn't in the exact same place. He was a little further down. So I don't know. It's weird. This next one I have is kind of similar in a way. This one's called The Bus People. For a period of 6 months, I had to see a specialist for a health condition. The clinic was on the other side of the county, so I had to take a couple buses there and back. Now, the return journey was completely unpredictable. Sometimes the bus would show up, sometimes it wouldn't. I might be hours late getting home. No matter what time or what day of the week, even Saturdays, I would end up traveling with the same group of people. They all got on at town A and they all got off at town B, except for one who traveled to my town. Every time, they all sat in the same seats, had nearly the same conversations each time. They were marked on the same landmarks each time. Honestly, I didn't pay much attention at first. They were just filler, and I was usually reading a book. Now, there might be a perfectly normal explanation, but it was the same crowd regardless of what time or day I got on that bus. I didn't think about it at the time. Only when I didn't have to go to the clinic anymore did I really start thinking about how weird it all was. Did you
was pretty
imagine
weird.
that? Like even on Saturdays, like I could imagine if it was like a day group,
Right. Monday through Friday.
Right.
like an
Wouldn't work.
office, would
Mhm.
let out, and you're seeing that same group of people making that trip. But
Maybe
they're
they
saying
work
it was
for
at
my
all
company.
times.
Yeah, they work all the time.
Yeah, I get like a week in July and 1 or 2 weeks in January, and then I pretty much work 6 days a week. So I mean, it could be that.
I don't know. It's crazy.
What's interesting to me is that it didn't seem odd to them until afterwards.
Right.
Yeah, when they really started thinking about it.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's strange. The next one I'm going to read, it sounds NPC, but it also sounds, I don't know. It might have another twinge to it. I'm going to read it to you guys and see what you think and see what everybody in the chats thinks. So this one's called Seeing the Same Guy for 20 Years. I've been seeing the same man since I was in my late teens. I'm 38 years old now. I started seeing him in random places around the age of 17. I live in a heavily populated area and I have lived all over the tri-state area. I've seen him in parking lots, I've seen him in stores, I've seen him at events, but the craziest one was I saw him at a destination wedding in St. Martin about 10 years ago. I approached him at this wedding and asked him if he has been following me for years because I see him all over the place. As you can imagine, the conversation immediately became one of the awkwardest ones I've ever been a part of. He kind of laughed and shrugged it off, but I could tell he knew he was seeing me all over the place also. There's been spans of over a year or 2 years where I don't see him whatsoever, and it seems like it comes in waves. My life has changed considerably, as you can imagine, since the age of 17. I now have a wife and child. My most recent sightings of the guy was in a store called Bye Bye Baby. I was buying things for my newborn. Within the same month, I saw him at a Home Depot about 30 miles away. Every time this happens, he pretends like he doesn't see me, but I can tell he's as sketched out as I am. The last sighting of this guy was a couple months ago in the store for the baby stuff, and that was the final straw. It's something I've pondered over for so long, and like I said, I question my own sanity. I'm also a male, for frame of reference, and the guy that I've been seeing is a lot older than me, but it seems like he hadn't aged a bit, as crazy as that sounds. Like I said, I know the man is real. I've talked to him face to face, but it still makes me question my own sanity. So what is that?
Yeah. Doctor Who episode.
Oh, and a classic TARDIS, by the way.
Tom Baker.
Nice.
Yeah, I know, right?
Very nice.
Yeah, that's super strange, and honestly, it kind of reminds me of something that happened to me while I was in the Air Force. I traveled a lot. I traveled a lot, and several times throughout my career, I traveled to some place like, "Hey, how's it going? You were in here, but it's like I've never been here before ever." I don't know who you saw. It sounds like they're great. I would love to meet whoever it is you're talking about. But it wasn't me. Like, no, you did this and things, and you're exactly the same, the voice and the thing, and it's like I've never been here, man. Honestly, and even to today, people that I worked with every day were convinced that I was with them on this big group deployment out to Las Vegas area for this big thing that they were doing out there that I never went on. That people still probably even today, if I were to find them, 20 years later, would be convinced that I was there with him, and I never went on that trip. I was never there, but so many people thought that I was. I don't know what that is. I kind of feel it's like that same thing as somebody similar or just kind of basic, the same basic, hair, clothing, whatever, structure that they're seeing. I find it hard to believe that it's the same person they keep seeing over years. I think maybe my first impression would be is like, you don't get out much, do you? You don't see that many different people that you think everybody looks the same. But I hold back because I've had something like that happen myself, where people think I've been there or they think they have met me before, and I've never been to places I'd never been before.
My oldest son, and Mark and Jess, you may have heard this. I can't remember if I told you guys about this or not. He has an older brother that's a half brother off his dad's side, and his name's Greg. And my oldest son, he worked on pipeline for quite a few years, and he would go and travel pretty much everywhere. And there was this one place, I think it was in Arkansas. I can't remember now. But when they saw him, they were like, "Oh, hey, how are you doing?" And he was like, same thing, like Enzo. He was like, "Hi, I don't know who you are, but hi." And they were like, "No, dude, we just talked to you a few weeks ago and blah, blah, blah." And, and he was like, "No, I swear you didn't." "Well, yeah, you're from here and, you're from Texas and all this." And he's like, "No, I'm from Kansas."
Right.
And they were like, "You're kidding," because there's this guy that looks so much like you. And
I've heard that so many times.
Yeah, well, see, my son had never met his half brother before this. And when he talked to them more, they were like, "I'm going to find out this guy's name. Give me your info so I can tell you." So when they found it, they let my son know, and it was his half brother that he had never met. They both worked on the pipeline. He just had moved from Missouri to Texas and had never crossed paths, but they have since, had a conversation. But how weird is that? And apparently they look a lot alike, which is really wild. So I'm like, I need to see a picture of this guy because that's pretty wild.
I was going to say, maybe Enzo has a doppelganger somewhere.
There are, yeah.
Everybody has one.
Yep.
Just yesterday, I was on TikTok and this chick came across my FYP page, and she could have been my daughter. She looks that much like me. In fact, I showed her picture to Jennifer and to Anne, and I was like, "Check this out." And they were like, "Holy cow, that's weird." So I sent her a message and I was like, "Hey, you came across my FYP. You look a lot like me. I'm a lot older, obviously, so you could be my daughter, though." And she was like, "Oh my gosh, that's so crazy." And yeah, I will share that picture with you guys because it's weird.
That'd be cool. Yeah. Have I ever told you about the guy at the time I almost got arrested because of a doppelganger?
No.
I haven't heard that.
No? Okay. So this has been, gosh, it had to have been over 15 years ago. It was when Mike was in the last band. They were playing at Torchy's 2 Bucks down at Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Yeah.
And there were cops coming into the building, and I was sitting at a table selling merch for the band. And one of the cops asked me to go out back with them, and they handcuffed me and put me in the back of the squad car. And I was like,
no.
"What's happening?" And they were like, "We need your identification." And sadly, I didn't have any with me but my license. It's the only thing I brought so that I could get drinks while I was at the bar. I left my purse back at the band room in Skiatook. And they went, and I was like, "Go find my husband." he can vouch for me, who I am. And he came out and he was like, this is my wife, Jessica Holman, and blah, 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 blah. And I have my license. Can you use that? And they were like, absolutely not. We need at least 2 or 3 more forms of ID. And I thought I was going to go to jail. And I sat in the back of that squad car for about a half an hour waiting to see what was going to happen. And finally, the police officer came back out and pulled me out and uncuffed me and said, we're so sorry, but you matched the ID of this chick who's wanted in Tulsa. And I don't remember what she was wanted for, but she was on the, what did they call that? On the news, they used to put out the reports of the wanted people, Crime Stoppers or whatever.
Yeah.
They had put out her story that night, and someone in the bar had identified her. Right?
Oh no.
He showed me a picture. It was flipping me, and she was wearing what I was wearing that night, and she was at the bar too. I just didn't see her. We both had on like blue jeans and Doc Martens, black sweatshirts. She had curly hair too. It was a little bit shorter than mine. But basically we were dressed and looked almost identical. She was a little bit lighter skin toned than I was. But yeah, they were getting ready to haul me off.
Oh my goodness.
When they finally found her. And I didn't actually get to see her in person because when they arrested her at the front of the bar. So they put her in one of the squad cars in the front and I was in the back. So they were letting me go as they were hauling her off. And I was like, oh my God, I almost went to jail.
Crazy.
Freaked them out a little too?
Just for looking at someone.
It did. He was really apologetic. He was like, I am so sorry. He goes, but if I never saw this other girl, you would have went to jail because you guys are so very close. And he was like, and you're wearing the exact same things. I mean, she even had the same kind of docs that I had on. So I was like, wow.
That's crazy.
Because you're such a fashion icon.
If you guys have your phones next to you,
and sweatshirt.
If you guys have your phones next to you, I just sent you a screenshot of that girl that I was telling you about from last night. So take a look at it. I'm not going to share her photo on here because I don't have her permission, but just know she looks like me with a lot more makeup and younger.
Oh, wow.
Oh my
God. Isn't that crazy?
Really?
That was last night that I ran across that.
She totally does look like you with a filter.
Right. Yeah. Heavily filtered.
Wow.
Not that much of a filter.
She's like a sister from another mister.
Yeah.
Right? I was like, that is crazy. And just, random on my FYP. Who knew? Definitely have a doppelganger, though.
I mean,
that's nutty.
It is. It is.
We're all one
Small
filter
world.
away of looking exactly like somebody. Forget, Chris showed me a picture a few years ago of somebody on Facebook. I had to make a double take because I thought it was either me or my brother.
Yeah.
It was like,
that's wild.
Right down to the overalls.
That is wild. Fun stuff.
Everything.
Crazy. Okay, so we are getting close to the end here. And if you've never been on our podcast before, we do play a game at the end. It's called Notebooks Game. And you'll see Jess's name is Notebooks for a very good reason. She keeps all her random things in notebooks. And so what we do every time is she chooses 5 random notebooks and they're numbered. Is it 1 through 85 or 75?
75.
75. Okay. So what we do is we ask everybody in the chat if they'd like to choose a notebook, choose 1 through 5, and then choose a page number 1 through 75. And then she will look up and we will learn a little bit of random tidbit of something interesting that she has
Yep. I will
made a record of.
On that page. It could be great. It could be crazy. It could be really stupid. We'll find out together.
Absolutely.
All right, what's our first one?
First one is Notebook 2, page 48.
All right.
Is that Phil?
It's me.
Oh, Mark cheated.
Cheater!
I did. I got mine in first.
Wow.
Twice.
All right. let's see here. This one is on the Lake Linville encounter.
Oh, nice.
This is out of Rockcastle County, Kentucky. And this is actually a story excerpt from Mysterious Kentucky Volume 2. Excellent book series if you're interested in the Kentucky area, which is Enzo's stomping grounds, I believe. Yep, lots of nutty came from there, including Enzo. So,
oh, I was going to say that's mean to call him lots of nutty, but I guess you did.
he is. We all know he is. See, he owns it.
He needs a Superman cape. Lots of nutty.
Okay. The Lake Linville encounter. When I was a little girl, they were damming up the creek to make the lake, and this would have been 1968. Mom took me and my sisters out there all the time for picnics. She said she wanted us to always be able to remember the land before the lake was made. One afternoon, we decided to take a hike in the woods after our picnic, and we had been gone about an hour when we heard the helicopters. There were 3 of them, and one was huge, the size of an army helicopter or something. We stayed in the woods and watched as men with guns got out. Mom was afraid and made us all hide in the woods. The next thing I knew, a large crate, big enough to hold a car, was brought off of one of the helicopters. Then 6 men with guns, who were wearing black masks, opened it. I was astounded and almost screamed as a huge black snail-looking thing came out. It seemed to be looking at the men, and one of the men yelled, "Go," real loud, and then the thing swished into the water. The men went back to the helicopter where 2 more crates were taken off, and 2 more of the slug-like animals were let go. All of a sudden, the men with the guns began to back up, and we saw that one of the snail things was scooting towards them. That's when we heard the shots. Before Mom grabbed me and made me run, I saw one of the man's legs bit off. He started screaming, and Mom grabbed me and my sisters, and we ran and ran until we came to a road. We found a house, and a nice old man took us home in his truck. Mom made us swear never to tell anyone what we had seen. I've never been the same since that day.
I can see why. That's disturbing.
Crazy.
So, Lake Linville.
You're muted, Enzo.
It's not
Yeah,
showing
Lake
anything here 'cause his mic's
Linville
not working.
has several things going on with it. It's one of those lakes that has had a cave connected to it before it was dammed up, and it filled the cave back in.
Oh.
So it has all that weirdness happening with the
A lot of caves
stuff.
in Kentucky.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kentucky's like completely, I think everything is pretty much an offshoot of Mammoth
There's
Cave,
even
isn't
a
it?
cave county,
Yes.
Kentucky.
And there's
Yeah.
some weird stuff in Mammoth Cave.
Those caves go for hundreds and hundreds of miles coming out of
Ugh.
Mammoth.
Putin's
what
Cat,
was that?
Notebook
320.
3, page 27.
All right. Let's see here.
While she's looking it up, I have to tell you guys, my youngest granddaughter, she's walking behind the. She's got a little
alright.
push toy for
Okay.
Christmas, and she's walking. I
Yay.
just saw a picture
How
fly
old
by.
is she?
She'll be 1 on the 8th.
Wow.
Yeah,
Fantastic. Great.
fast year, huh?
This is about the elephant slabs and the Montezuma Valley jar that was found in New Mexico.
Nice. And popping some stuff.
Hey, it's Ken.
I can.
Hi, Ken. So this is when we were doing out of place artifacts, Africans in the Americas, far earlier than what we presume. The elephant slabs found in Flora Vista, New Mexico, dated early 1500s. 2 slabs of rock were found in 1910 in Native American ruins by a boy in Flora Vista. The smallest slab is 6 inches wide and 6 inches long. The other is 6 inches wide and 14 inches long and contains 8 lines of inscriptions, including engravings of elephants. The Montezuma Valley jar in the Four Corners area is where it was found by Frederick Bennett Wright in 1885 in the Indian ruins situated in the Montezuma Valley, within sight of the place where the elephant slabs were found. The jar also included elephants in its design. Both the elephant slabs, the valley jar, and elephant engravings found in Nevada, which probably was on the previous page. Yep. And the Four Corners area are believed to belong to the Mandi tribe. The Mandi tribe was reportedly African tribe living amongst the Indian tribes who had actually brought elephants with them. When the Spanish arrived in Arizona, they reportedly found Black communities. In 1775, Father Francisco Garcia discovered Black men, clearly African, living in the same community beside the Zuni Indians in New Mexico. He found two races, one black, the other red, that spoke two different languages. He was told that the blacks were the ancient inhabitants of the land. Similar ethnic cultures were found living in Arizona, New Mexico, and living among the Pueblos.
Interesting.
Yep. So
That is
there were
pretty nice.
elephants in the Americas.
Yes.
That's another one of those. There's something weird, mystical about that Four Corners area.
Mhm.
That what's here? Once the adventure van that I'm going to build is done, that is one of the areas I want to spend some time in.
That
We made
sounds
it
like
almost
fun.
2 hours.
We did.
I've held off a long ass time.
Did really good.
You did a good job.
I'm waiting for you to get that built.
We're all excited
Order
for
a
him
new
to
one,
get it. That was a good
custom-made
one, Putin's
That
cat. That was a good
was.
one.
Wow.
And we are,
right.
that is on our list of things to do, is to touch on ancient civilizations in America that are not purported to have been here. So that'll be a multi-part one for sure. Oh, sorry, I just dropped that down. Let me put it back up.
Yes, and I would love to collaborate.
Absolutely.
So that's right up my wheelhouse.
All right. This
Yeah.
one is the lead masks case of 1966. And this would have happened in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. On August 20th, 1966, a young boy flying a kite on a remote and tough to access hill outside of Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, found the bodies of two men. He ran down the hill and reported the findings to the cops, but because of the treacherous terrain, coroners and first responders weren't able to get up to the hill to recover the bodies until the next day. When the police and firefighters did arrive, they found a very strange scene. Two men were lying next to each other and partially covered by grass. The weird part was that each deceased man wore a formal suit, a waterproof coat, and a lead eye mask. There was no feasible reason for them to be wearing the waterproof coat or the lead eye masks up on the hill, and cops were quickly very confused. Alongside the two corpses was an empty water bottle and a packet with two wet towels inside. Then, most cryptically, there was a small notebook that had a set of timed instructions written inside it. A small notebook that had a set of timed instructions written inside it in Portuguese. The instructions' rough translation into English was 1630, be at the specified location. 1830, ingest capsules. After the effect, protect metals, await signal, mask. That creeped out investigators even further, of course. The two men were eventually identified as two Brazilian electronic technicians named Manuel Pereira de la Cruz and Miguel Jose Viana. They had been last seen by their families 3 days prior to the boy finding their bodies on the hillside. But while a coroner's report might have actually allowed authorities to come up with some answers in the case, it never came through, at least not in time. The coroner's office in Rio de Janeiro was very backed up with cases and medical exams at the time, so the bodies sat for days on end waiting to be autopsied. By the time the coroner was finally able to get around to it, their organs were too badly decomposed to figure out whether the men had ingested any notable substances prior to their deaths. Since then, the discovery has been a bizarre and persistent mystery.
Was that, I think did that come from Confrontations, Jacques Vallée? If
I
not,
don't think
he
so.
tells a very similar story.
He might have told like from the same story. So this was some of the true crime and other weird, mysterious death stuff. So I was kind of looking
That
up.
is super weird.
That
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
It really is.
There is something about just Central and South America in general. There is so much weirdness that goes on down there that we almost never hear about, mostly because of the language barrier. But there's just so much craziness that is super bizarre.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That area also had a lot of reports of the refrigerator box size aerial vehicles being seen. And it's very similar to what they say they are sighting around Skinwalker Ranch now. So I don't know. I always thought that was pretty cool too.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All
I don't know
right.
what would fit
We're
in a
doing-
refrigerator sized box thing, but okay. Notebook 4, page 52. That's Ginger.
Got it pulled up here.
Yeah, like in Indiana Jones. Yep.
Refrigerator sized box. Yeah.
Oh, the mysteries are coming, and we have a theme going on tonight.
Ooh.
This is the Forest Grove sound. So a lot of you might remember this. This wasn't from all that long ago. It's from 2016. February 2016, a high-pitched noise was heard intermittently at night in Forest Grove, Oregon. The news about the noise was first shared with Dave Neymeyer by a Forest Grove resident who posted a video of it on the city's Facebook page. The Washington Post described the noise as sounding like a giant flute being played off pitch, car brakes, or a steam whistle. NBC News described it as akin to a bad one-note violin solo broadcast over a microphone with nonstop feedback. It reportedly lasted from 10 seconds to several minutes at a time. The fire department of Forest Grove did not consider the sound to be a safety risk. The noise occurred near Gales Creek Road. Neither the city of Forest Grove Public Works Department nor the fire department were able to explain the noise. According to NW Natural, which is a gas company, there were no problems with gas lines in Forest Grove at the time. In February 2016, Andrew Dawes, a professor of physics at Pacific University, mapped the locations where the noises had been heard, although the results were inconclusive and did not suggest any single location. Throughout February 2016, approximately 200 calls were made to the Forest Grove Police Department, according to Captain Mike Herb, who said that most of the calls were suggested explanations for the sound, ranging from frogs to aliens to Bigfoot. In late February 2016, the Forest Grove Police Department announced via Facebook that the noise did not pose a safety hazard, and the police announced they were halting their investigation until further information appeared. However, after February 2016, the noise was not heard. The final point was plotted on Dawes' map on February 27th, and the police and fire departments closed the case. Dave Neymeyer, the Forest Grove fire marshal, suspected the noise to be a faulty attic fan or a heat pump.
What?
That over 200 people heard. Whatever.
Sorry,
Yeah.
my teleporter was on the fritz, and it just kept.
Yeah.
It's a weather balloon. That's what it
Yeah.
was. It's a squeaky
I
weather
gasped
balloon.
real bad that
Yeah.
night, and it just.
Oh.
Mark.
Well,
I got a million of them.
That's
yes,
funny.
we're familiar with the millions of gas you have. It's a. But
I've single-handedly solved the energy crisis.
Oh no.
Oh, Lord.
Does anybody else have a choice that they'd like to make? That if you want to jump in, we got a minute or two to do another one. So
I don't
yeah,
know.
that's funny.
I didn't actually put one out there, but if we want to go ahead, book 3, page 24, please.
All right. Hold on, I gotta shift my file over.
For whatever you said it was NBC, I think that last story, that was a super specific. It sounded like a violin where it was the pitch was obvious. That was very specific.
It was.
Well,
Ken said, "You guys tell us weird stories. I may never sleep again. Slugs, caves, elephants, iron-eyed people, unidentified horns, energy crisis, weather balloons. Wah ha ha ha."
That's us.
They could have discovered it
and
was
Mark's
somebody
gas. Yeah.
Yes. Could have been somebody practicing for their violin recital, and they were so bad their parents made them go outside. It
On
could
a
happen.
PA system. This is like
I think 200 out of those 200 people, somebody would have found him and broke it, probably.
But you've
my
seen,
Stradivarius. No.
have you seen
my goodness.
they're like an electric guitar, except they're an electric violin.
Ken has a good point. Was it the same as the trumpet
Oh.
sounds? And those have been heard, and those have been documented at different places.
Maybe. I just thought it was interesting. I had little notes off to the side. The gentleman who was trying to map them from the university, like he would think he had one pinpointed, but then it would shift, like it was moving. So he could never quite map it. It was never in the same area. And sometimes it would shift within the day that they were hearing it. Like they were sure it was happening here, but then it would shift, like a half mile over. So it was
Skyway.
unmappable.
Sorry, sweetheart.
Willy
the
Wonka,
violin is
that's
so
what it
loud,
was.
you're going to have to go farther away.
As a kid practicing their violin. All right, I've got the page pulled up here. Enzo's is the rhomboid triangle. So this is from the series when we were doing the 13 triangles of the vile vortices.
Oh.
The rhomboid triangle resides in the Philippines area. The anomalies most found there are vanishing ships, shipwrecks, and ghost ships. And I have a small listing of the major ones that have happened here. In 1987, the MV Donna Paz collided with the MV Vector. 4,300 people were dead or missing. In 1980...
4,000 people?
That's a lot.
Yeah, dead or missing. 1980, the MS Don Juan collided with the MT Tacloban. 1,004 dead or missing. In 2008, the MV Princess of the Stars capsized, 437 dead, over 600 missing. 1989, the MV Jim sank, 174 dead or missing. And back in World War II, 4 Japanese ships sank. Many believe crashes and accidents were caused by a ghost ship sailing too close, piloted by Lolo Among. His ghost ship is made of pure gold and sails the triangle every night.
We talked about
what
this
they're
not
saying.
too long ago.
Yeah, it hasn't been that long ago. Yeah, that's one of the major 13 triangles. So, woohoo!
Interesting.
Here we go.
Okay, we have one more. Ken.
Okay. What's he got?
He's got 9, but you're going to have to knock it down this 1 through 5.
Let's go 5.
Page 42 of one of them.
Well, I'll go
And while you're
5.
looking,
How's that?
That'll work.
Okay.
Notebook 5, page 42. Ginger said, I love mysteries. It's ironic that I picked the story about unexplained noises. Yes.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Okay. Let's see.
I don't
here.
think she can carry 9 at a time as big as they are, Ken.
Oh, okay. This one will be fun. This is the full write-up on the big cabin lions.
Oh, nice.
Oh, nice.
It's like the full thing. Okay, here we
talked
go.
about this not too long ago.
Yes.
Big cabin lions. And for those of you at home that have not heard me talk about the big cabin lions before, this is an absolute true story. It was reported by many, many people over the course of 30 miles. And it all happened in one day in several locations. So I'm just going to read it. The Will Rogers Turnpike was just over a year old when an Ohio couple traveled into Oklahoma for the first time. Maybe they were thinking they would see Indian teepees or oil well derricks. What they did witness along the highway was totally unexpected. As they were paying the $2 toll at the Catoosa-Tulsa exit, the driver remarked to the attendant, "Just what kind of wildlife does your state have? We didn't realize you have African lions running free here." The out-of-state traveler didn't appear to have had one too many, and he said it with a straight face. Still, the attendant figured they had mistaken a cow or some other farm animal. How you mistake a lion for a cow is, or a cow for a lion is beyond me. As he was handing the driver his change, the turnpike employee asked where the sighting occurred. It was a ways after passing the last exit, the Ohioan replied. At that time, the next gate was at U.S. Highway 69 north of Adair. The couple continued on, probably wondering what other surprises Oklahoma would hold. The attendant just added another interesting tidbit to his job's experiences. That is, until a few days later. 3 more times it was reported a large cat had been seen in the same area. East of Claremore, first Andy Summerlin and then Mr. and Mrs. Bill Ray each saw an apparent mountain lion. The Rays watched it as it crossed a county road in front of their vehicle. It was as big as life. Summerlin, a Tulsa truck sales representative, reported his spotting to Rogers County Deputy Art Hanner. Another motorist said he saw a lion beside the road eating a chicken. With 4 separate reported sightings, each unknown to the others, it was clear something was lurking in eastern Rogers County. An animal hunt started. Local deputies under Sheriff Amos Ward, volunteers, and professional hunters gathered for a sweep of the area. Sequoia resident Sam Ryan was called to bring in his 2 hunting dogs. A short time later, 2 more dogs arrived from Miami. The big hunt was on. Despite the large number of searches, many were not at all willing to venture far into the deep underbrush once nightfall came.
No.
maybe a real honest-to-goodness huge animal was in waiting. Actually, Sheriff Ward and the Tulsa Zoo official called in for advice. Each agreed that probably was a good thing. If something moved, there's no telling what would be shot, Ward told a reporter at the scene. No lion was found, and a couple of hunters said they did hear a loud growling and snarling noise.
Yeah.
And then it goes on to kind of talk about some of the other weird strangeness in the area. So to fill this out a little bit, because there's more to this story, the first sightings happened at the hospital in where was it in Claremore?
Was it Veneta? It was Veneta, wasn't
No.
it? Or
It was in
Claremore?
Claremore. It started in Claremore. The old hospital grounds there, in full view of nurses and doctors and patients out their big, huge front windows of the old hospital, they watched an entire pride of African lions appear, growling and snarling and just running full pell-mell across the lawn of the hospital and disappeared on the other side before they hit the line of the bushes. And then later on, it was picked back up on the side of the freeway there at the turnpike. Then it was seen again eating the chicken on the side of the road. And then the last one was spotted in Veneta. It had a couple of lions had gotten into a chicken coop and had eaten all the chickens. And there were actually lion footprints casted out of the mud around that chicken house. But unfortunately, they got kind of lost to wherever. No one knows quite where those are. But yeah, you can actually one of these days I'm going to have to make a map so we can show it online and lay it out, that they were literally appearing and then disappearing and traveling up the turnpike and then finally pooping out in the Veneta area. So they were kind of like they were coasting in and out of our reality or something.
Wow, I love that one.
Well, and
It's so good.
Lions existed in this area. The American lion, I don't have it pulled up or on my computer right now, but the American lion, the artist renderings of those from their fossils look a lot like the African lion. So
enough to where you could tell it's a lion for sure.
Enough to tell you can tell if it's a male or female lion. So was it a time slip? Was it a dimensional slip? Either one could have been, but lions did at one time exist in this area, so it's interesting.
Out of curiosity, is this somewhere nearby where you had the repeated disappearing, reappearing conquistadors down there? That area?
Well, that's around the Tulsa area, so kind of not. I mean, it's
within a few hours of each other.
A few hours of each other, yeah.
Yeah.
It's all in our big swath of this, weird area, the four corners of Arkansas, Oklahoma, Missouri, and Kansas. This weird little area we've got here.
Amok.
Yeah, amok.
Yes.
Oh, Kim
Ah,
said
that's
Yeah.
the
fine.
footprint castings are probably now in the Smithsonian basement or Area 51. Time slip is most likely cause. Yeah,
Probably.
that's probably exactly where the
Yeah.
castings ended up.
Probably with
I
all the
found those
giants
pictures.
and everything else. Anywho, we should probably be thinking about finishing up. It's after 9.
we are down to the end.
Yeah.
So
All right. So, do you guys have anything else you want to add before we leave out for the night?
think we're
No. Stay tuned. Watch if those of you who follow What If Tomorrow and On the Fringe, stay tuned for new episodes. They'll be coming up soon. And that's all I really have.
about
Okay.
paranormal podcast, we're going to be starting back with it before too long as well. So
So
it's
no
exciting.
more boring Monday and Wednesday nights for anybody.
Nope. We're all going to be jumping right back into the thick of things.
Do you got anything, Enzo? You gonna be starting your own show soon?
You should. You'd be amazing.
Soon. I will be on with Karen from Australia, the Karen Show on Friday night. I think it's 8
Nice.
p.m. Central Time.
Okay.
So we're experimenting with a few different time slots and stuff like that. We're going to try a Friday night slot.
She changed the name of her podcast.
Yeah, she was formerly Doof Paranormal. Now it's more of just like a regular talk show kind of a thing called The Karen Show.
Nice.
Okay.
But, we'll be doing a little something on Friday night for the first time, and we'll see how that goes.
That's exciting.
Sweet.
Right.
Be fun.
Yeah, we're excited for 2025. We're going to be doing so much fun stuff. Like I said at the beginning, if you have a favorite topic or a favorite story, or even if it's just something small, or maybe your own story you'd like to tell, let us know. We're all about it. We will get you on here.
Absolutely.
We will cover your favorite topic. Just send us a message, leave it in the chats, whatever you want to do there. We would love to hear all about it. Before we leave, if you haven't liked and shared yet or hit the thumbs up and the subscribe, do that real quick. I want to thank Mark Bannon and Enzo Cyril for joining us tonight and talking all things simulation and NPC. Super, super fun.
Yay.
Join us again on January 15th. We go live every other Wednesday at 7 p.m. I believe we're going to try to do some glitch in the matrix because that's always fun.
It is.
Yeah, join us for
Never
that.
gets old.
And if you're interested in any of the books that we talked about tonight, we'll be posting them on our Facebook page with links. So if you want to go do some of your own research, it'll be right there for you to find. We'll get those up as soon as possible. And I think that's it. Thanks for everybody for hanging out in the chats and playing the notebook game. And keep it weird, keep it strange, and remember, it's all connected. Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Peace out.